you've been doing therapy, breathing exercises, or taking medication for anxiety for years and it's still not going away, you're not doing it wrong and you're not broken. The missing piece is something the standard model of anxiety treatment was never designed to address. Because anxiety isn't one condition with one fix. There are actually 3 distinct types, each with a different origin, a different biological signature, and a completely different path to resolution. Most treatment protocols are built around the most common presentation, which means if yours doesn't fit that mold, you can do everything right and still feel like nothing is working. Not because the tools are bad, but because they're aimed at the wrong target. And here's what makes it even more complicated. The type you started with isn't necessarily the type you have now. Anxiety shifts, it evolves. And what it looks like today may be something entirely different from what it looked like when you first sought help. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through all 3 types, how to recognize which one is yours, why it may have changed, and what it actually takes to address it at the root. In fact, you'll see one of these distinct types of anxiety when you look at Oprah Winfrey. She's one of the most popular women on the planet who has inspired millions of people, and like anyone, she's not immune to anxiety. You will notice the distinct subtype she has when she described what her anxiety was like. It was like sort of speeding, going from one thing to the next. She said she nearly had a nervous breakdown, but she was able to do her television shows, perform her day-to-day activities. This is the first type of anxiety I'm talking about. I call it the live wire. It's the feeling when you're wired, but not completely tired, like exhausted to the midday. And it's the most common type of anxiety that makes you wake up at 3 a.m. or overthink for things that no longer matter. And no, this doesn't come from stress alone. There's a hidden mechanism behind it operating at the level of your brain, especially your nervous system. This type of anxiety happens when you're stuck in fight or flight mode. Your body is physically exhausted, but your stress response remains activated, producing cortisol and adrenaline that keep the brain alert. All of this flips your cortisol curve. It lowers in the morning when you needed to wake up, and high at night when you're trying to sleep. So you feel wired if you're performing daily tasks, and your meds don't fix what's causing all this because they're designed for the common state of anxiousness, not the specific mechanism behind it. The first type is not that brutal. You can recover from it as long as you know the fix. But there's another type that makes you feel like you're almost depleted. You feel anxious, depleted, and frustrated. This is the second type of anxiety, the wired and worn type. Millions of people are living with this anxiety type, and it's the most misunderstood one. You look fine on the outside, you're functional, you're a high achiever, but deep down, you're exhausted and completely depleted. You want to sleep, but your mind won't let you. You want to rest, but your body is still braced for a threat that isn't there anymore. In this type, your sympathetic nervous system remains overactive while the body simultaneously feels depleted. Your mind feels alert or anxious, muscles stay tense, breathing is shallow, yet energy reserves feel low and motivation feels limited. That's what the wired and worn is, and why you feel tired, drained, and out of your natural zone. Now, you can identify this type and then fix it. But there is a third type you don't even realize because it doesn't look like anxiety at all. Prince Harry had it, and he once described it with brutal words. He said that he spent 20 years shutting down all of his emotions after losing his mother. He became completely disconnected from the inside because there was nothing left. That's the cruelest form of anxiety, because it feels like emptiness, like you're watching your own life through glass. You just don't have the fuel left to do anything. You stop caring about the things you used to. You slept, but woke up exhausted. You go through the motions. People think you're fine because you're quiet. This is the flatline anxious. In it, your body enters an exhaustion stage in which, after prolonged chronic stress, the immune system weakens. Burnout sets in and the body loses its ability to tolerate stress at all. The nervous system flatlines. Your adrenal reserves become so exhausted that they can't produce enough cortisol, and with it go the hormones that regulate mood, motivation, and energy. And it's completely different from every other type of anxiety you've experienced. In fact, every type of anxiety we've discussed so far is different in its working mechanisms. They work on different brainwave patterns. Let's take our first type, the live wire anxiety. This one is the result of excess high beta waves. High beta is the brainwave your body produces during stress. In normal life, once the threat is gone, high beta drops and you return to a calm state. But in the live wire state, the body can't come back to that relaxed state, which leads to sickness, burnout, and serious emotional side effects. Similarly, the wired and worn person is a combination of high beta and suppressed alpha waves. When high beta waves take over and dominate for too long, they crowd out alpha, leaving less and less room for the calming effects of alpha activity. And the consequences go deeper than just feeling anxious. Too much high beta means racing thoughts, anxiety, and constant tension. Too little alpha means always on edge, unable to relax. When both happen at once, you feel wired and worn. And then there's the flatline anxious state, which is caused by slow delta theta waves. These are the brainwave patterns that are associated with sleep, relaxation, and creativity. I know theta waves sound like a great thing you'd want more of. The problem is that when theta waves become overactive during waking hours, the brain creates a state of mental fog, difficulty concentrating, and the kind of hyperfocus on internal experiences. So all of these patterns are linked to different types of anxiety, but you're trying to fix them with the same medications that everyone else is using to treat their specific anxiety. Maybe your anxiety is due to the high beta waves or due to suppression of alpha waves, and you're taking medications that no longer work on these brainwave patterns. This is why you need something more than just medication that spot which brainwave patterns are linked to your specific types of anxiety. That something is brain mapping. It's a technique for visualizing, analyzing, and mapping the structure and function of the human brain. It captures a multi-electrode recording of brainwave activity and converts it into numbers. Those numbers are then statistically analyzed and converted into a color map of brain function. The raw data is processed through complex mathematical algorithms that transform your EEG recordings into a color-coded brain map, and this shows exactly which areas are overactive, underactive, or completely out of sync. And then, the software compares your brainwave activity to a database of healthy brains in your exact age group. This comparison produces a color map highlighting every single deviation from normal. For example, if someone is suffering from the live wire anxiety type, the brain map shows excessive high beta activity in the right temporal lobe. That region lights up red, hot, and overloaded, which means your brain is burning too fast, and the map shows it. This is how you can find which brain regions are linked to your specific anxiety type, so you can then follow a personalized treatment plan that aligns with your brain map. And this is exactly what we do at Vibe Wellness with our Brain Bloom program. We start with a full QEEG brain map to find out which type of anxiety you're dealing with, your specific brainwave pattern, and your specific dysregulation. And then we build a personalized treatment plan around what your brain actually needs. If you want to get yours, the link is in the description below.